When the stars aligned, two hearts against the galaxy, Elias sat in the cockpit of the small survey ship, staring at the starfield that stretched endlessly before him. Space had always felt alive to him, a quiet pulse beneath the infinite darkness. It was the kind of silence that could make a man feel small, or very, very important depending on how he listened. He adjusted the ship's sensors and leaned closer to the console. Something in the readings caught his eye, a signal buried deep in the background noise of the cosmos. It was faint, irregular, but it was definitely there. The signal did not match any known frequencies. Elias frowned. He had scanned thousands of light years of space before and had never seen anything like this. Whoever, or whatever, was sending the signal was doing it carefully, hiding it beneath layers of cosmic interference. He typed a command to isolate it, trying to trace its origin. Mira, miles away on a floating research outpost, frowned at her own console. She was a linguist, a specialist in alien communication patterns, but even she had never seen a signal quite like this. It seemed to respond to her mind, subtly shifting when she focused on it. She adjusted her neural interface, trying to communicate, to understand. The signal pulsed faintly in response. It was almost as if it recognized her. Back on his ship, Elias's hands moved over the controls automatically, as if guided by some unseen force. The signal pulsed again, this time more strongly. It was a rhythm, a pattern, almost like a heartbeat, but far older and more complex than any human design. He tried to replicate it, sending a return pulse, and the ship vibrated slightly in response. Elias's heart raced. There was something intelligent on the other side, and it was waiting. Mira noticed the pulse of the signal growing stronger. She spoke aloud to herself, almost unconsciously. "Who are you?" The words were meaningless, yet the signal responded, creating patterns that her interface translated into shapes and sounds she could barely comprehend. She realized that this was no ordinary communication. The signal wanted something, and it wanted it from humans. The moment felt fragile, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, without warning, the outpost shuddered violently. Alarms screamed as lights flickered. Mira grabbed the console and steadied herself. She could see on her screen that energy readings were spiking, coming from the direction of the signal. Someone, or something, was responding to their attempts at communication. Elias, too, felt a strange pull, as if the ship itself was drawn toward the source. He debated following it. Every protocol screamed against it. Every instinct told him to turn back. But something deeper, something he could not explain, urged him forward. He pushed the ship into the course the signal indicated. The stars seemed to bend slightly around the path, a subtle shift that no instrument could measure. The signal's rhythm grew faster, stronger, almost welcoming him. Mira, monitoring the same data from her outpost, realized the connection was mutual. The signal's changes were subtle, but clear. It was alive, and it was responding to them. She transmitted a message to Elias, though she did not know if he would receive it. The message carried a simple question. "Can you feel it?" Elias's console blinked. The message arrived almost instantaneously, carried not by radio waves, but by the pulse of the signal itself. He typed back quickly, "Yes, it is alive." They shared a moment of understanding. Two humans, separated by light years, connected through something older and greater than any known civilization. The signal pulsed with renewed intensity. It was no longer just a pattern. It was an invitation. Suddenly, a shadow appeared on the sensors, a massive object moving through the void toward them. It was unlike any known spacecraft, smooth and dark, reflecting no light. Elias adjusted the shields instinctively, while Mira's outpost scrambled defenses. The object did not attack, it simply moved closer, almost cautiously, as if it, too, recognized the humans. The message from the signal grew more complex, forming shapes and vibrations that spoke directly to their minds. Elias felt a surge of emotion, fear, excitement, and awe all at once. Mira's hands trembled over her controls. They were standing on the edge of something incredible, something that could change everything they knew about humanity and the galaxy. The object slowed, hovering near the outpost. Strange lights danced along its surface, responding to the human presence. Elias realized it was scanning, learning, trying to communicate. Mira took a deep breath and focused, letting the signal guide her thoughts. The shapes formed images now, stars aligning, hearts meeting, a galaxy watching. She understood. This was meant for humans. Only humans. Elias's ship crept closer to the object. It was massive, dwarfing his vessel, yet strangely elegant. Its surface rippled like liquid, reflecting the stars, the void, and the small figure of the ship itself. He felt a pull in his chest, a compulsion to reach out, to connect. He activated the ship's external sensors, sending out pulses in the rhythm of the signal. The response was immediate. The object seemed to respond in kind, sending waves of energy that resonated through space and directly into the minds of both humans. Mira felt a warmth, a connection, unlike anything she had ever known. She realized that the signal, and the object behind it, could only be understood through a combination of human perception and emotion. Alarms went off again on the outpost, and Elias noticed a fleet of ships appearing on the sensors. These were known galactic patrol vessels, responding to the same anomaly, and they were armed. They did not recognize Elias or Mira, nor the purpose of the signal. To them, humans were intruders, and the object was a threat. Elias's heart sank. The situation was about to become dangerous. Mira's voice came over the comms, calm but urgent. "We have to move. The signal is drawing them here. If they interfere, we could lose it forever." Elias nodded, though she could not see him. The two humans acted in perfect synchrony, guided by intuition, the signal, and a growing trust in each other. As they prepared to leave, the massive object pulsed one last time. The energy wave enveloped Elias's ship, streaming through every system, every circuit. He felt his mind open, understanding things he could not have learned in a lifetime. Mira's outpost shared the same sensation, the neural interface linking her consciousness to the pulse. They were being shown possibilities, potential, futures where humans were not small, not insignificant. Then, suddenly, the signal went quiet. The object vanished. The fleet approached rapidly, alarms blaring, but the pulse had left a lingering imprint in the minds of Elias and Mira. They knew now that the galaxy feared humans for what they might become, not for what they were. The signal had chosen them, marking the beginning of something that could not be undone. Elias looked at the stars again, feeling the weight of a decision he could not yet name. Mira stared at her console, the echo of the signal still whispering in her thoughts. They were connected now, bound by something ancient and powerful. They were alone, but not afraid. The galaxy outside was vast, full of watchers and hunters. But for the first time, Elias and Mira felt the quiet certainty that humanity could rise. They had glimpsed the spark that lay hidden, the possibility of something greater. And somewhere deep in the darkness, the signal waited, patient and alive, for the next step. Elias and Mira had left the outpost behind, drifting into the black expanse of space with only the pulse of the mysterious signal guiding them. The fleet of patrolling ships would soon catch up, but they moved with purpose and confidence. They were driven by the rhythm of the signal, which seemed to respond not just to their presence but to their feelings, to their unity. The ship's small cabin felt alive, vibrating slightly as though it shared their anticipation. Elias adjusted the course again, keeping the vessel steady despite the unease he felt about leaving everything familiar behind. He glanced at Mira, who was seated at the communications console, eyes fixed on the rapidly changing star maps. She had begun to notice patterns in the signal, subtle repetitions that suggested a path through regions that no chart had ever mapped. "The path is dangerous," she said softly. "It goes through sectors no one has passed for centuries. Some maps even erase them completely. But the signal, it keeps pulling us there. We have to follow it." Elias nodded, understanding without words. Their connection to the signal was growing stronger, almost like a tether linking their minds. He could feel Mira's excitement, her fear, her determination, and it gave him courage he did not know he had. Humans had always been considered weak, but right now, in this moment, he felt powerful in a way that defied explanation. Suddenly, The ship's sensors picked up movement. Shadows glided across the starfield ahead, faster than any normal spacecraft could travel. Elias's heart raced. "They've found us," he said. He activated the shields and prepared for evasive maneuvers. The shadows resolved into sleek, alien vessels. Their designs were foreign, angular, with surfaces that absorbed light, making them hard to see. Mira studied the readings, frowning. "They aren't attacking, yet. They're studying us." Elias gritted his teeth. "We can't wait to find out what they want. We have to move." He adjusted the ship's engines, pushing into the uncharted sectors the signal indicated. The alien ships followed, shadowing them with precise, silent movements. It was clear these were not ordinary hunters. They were tracking something deeper, perhaps the humans themselves. As they traveled, the signal shifted in response to their emotions. When Elias felt fear, it pulsed weakly. When he focused on courage, it brightened and expanded. Mira realized they had to maintain trust and confidence, not just in each other but in themselves, to keep the signal active. It was as if the universe was testing their human hearts, measuring their worth. Days passed without encountering any planets or known waypoints. Food and supplies were minimal, but the humans pressed on. The ship's navigation systems began to adapt in strange ways, aligning with a signal rather than standard coordinates. Elias felt the ship itself was learning, responding to intuition and instinct more than mechanical commands. Mira could sense it too, the subtle hum beneath their feet guiding them forward. One night, while Elias rested briefly, Mira noticed a strange pattern in the star charts. Stars that should have been lifeless blinked faintly, forming a web that seemed to point to a location in a dark sector beyond known space. She realized the signal was revealing a hidden path, a secret route that had been erased from galactic history.
Her pulse quickened. This was why the galaxy feared humans. They were capable of discovering what others could not.
When Elias awoke, Mira shared her discovery. He leaned over the console, eyes wide. "This place, it's not just uncharted. It's forbidden. If anyone else knew about it, they would call it dangerous, cursed. But the signal brought us here." As they approached the coordinates, the alien fleet grew restless. Smaller vessels broke off and began aggressive maneuvers trying to intercept them. Elias skillfully dodged, weaving the ship through asteroid fields and gravity wells, all while maintaining a delicate balance with the signal's pulse. Mira guided him with precise calculations, the two moving as one, their trust absolute. The signal began to change tone. It was no longer just a pattern. It seemed to carry emotion, a form of recognition. Elias could feel it in his chest, a warmth and clarity he had never known. Mira, too, experienced the connection, sensing that they were on the verge of something extraordinary. They were no longer simply following a path. They were responding to a living intelligence that sought them specifically. Suddenly, the ship trembled violently. An invisible barrier blocked their route, warping space itself. Elias struggled with the controls, but the ship obeyed the signal's subtle guidance. With a deep breath, he let go of fear and allowed the vessel to move in harmony with the pulse. Slowly, they passed through the barrier, emerging into a region where stars shone brighter. Yet the space felt strangely empty, almost sacred. Mira's console displayed anomalies, remnants of civilizations that had vanished long before humans had left their own homeworld. Entire star systems erased from history. The signal had guided them to a place where the past, present, and future overlapped. She realized that humans, in their simplicity, were uniquely capable of understanding this space, because they could feel, not just calculate. Elias nodded silently, understanding that this journey was testing more than skill. It was testing the heart. The alien fleet hesitated at the edge of this new region, as though they could sense the power of the signal. Elias and Mira knew they had to move quickly. Each moment delayed increased the risk of interception. They pushed the ship further, feeling the pulse of the signal grow stronger with every passing light year. It was almost like a heartbeat of the universe itself, calling them onward. Then, the signal shifted dramatically. Images formed in their minds. Glimpses of structures that defied human architecture. Towers and bridges built not of stone or metal, but of light and energy. The message was clear. They were being led to a place of immense significance. Elias and Mira exchanged a glance, a silent agreement that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. As they neared the destination, another disturbance appeared. Small pods, invisible until they neared, moved rapidly towards the ship. They were automated defense drones left by civilizations long extinct, programmed to attack any intruder. Elias maneuvered expertly, dodging the pods, while Mira recalibrated the ship's energy shields. The tension was electric, the outcome uncertain. One wrong move could end everything. Just when it seemed they would be overwhelmed, the signal reacted. Energy waves pulsed outward from the hidden structure ahead, neutralizing the drones and clearing a path. Elias felt relief, but also awe. They were no longer simply navigating. They were participants in a larger plan, chosen by something beyond comprehension.
Mira's eyes shone with realization.
They were not small or powerless. The universe had singled them out for a reason. The ship finally reached a clearing in the cosmic web, a place that seemed untouched by time. Stars aligned perfectly, creating a celestial corridor leading to an enormous object that floated silently. It was vast, more massive than any ship they had ever seen, but serene. Its surface shimmered with colors that did not exist in any human spectrum. It seemed to watch them, to acknowledge their arrival. Mira whispered, almost to herself, "We're not alone."
And yet,
"We are exactly where we need to be." Elias nodded, feeling the same mix of fear and exhilaration. The pulse of the signal now resonated through their minds like a shared heartbeat, stronger than ever. They knew this was only the beginning, that the journey ahead would test everything they believed about themselves and humanity. The alien fleet lingered at the edge of this celestial corridor, uncertain, hesitant. Elias and Mira could sense that the unknown power of the object was keeping them at bay. For now they had a chance to explore, to understand, and to awaken something that had been waiting for humans for countless generations. The ship hovered near the object, engines idling, systems scanning. Elias and Mira prepared to step into the unknown, hearts aligned with each other and with the signal. The galaxy beyond watched silently, unaware that two humans had already begun a journey that could change everything. The pulse of the signal filled their minds with promise and peril alike, and they knew there was no turning back. With a deep breath, Elias adjusted the controls and Mira focused her mind. Together they were ready to answer the call of the stars and face whatever awaited in the heart of the unknown. The ship floated near the great object, silent except for the low hum of its systems. Elias kept his hands close to the controls, ready to react, while Mira studied the shifting lights that moved across the massive surface ahead. The object did not feel cold or hostile. Instead, it felt aware, like something that had been waiting for a very long time. As they drew closer, the signal changed again. It no longer felt distant or wide. It felt close, personal, as if it were speaking directly to their thoughts. Elias felt memories rise in his mind, moments from his past he had almost forgotten. Mira felt the same, her breath catching as images of her childhood, her first time looking at the stars, flowed through her. The object responded to their presence by opening a wide passage of light. It was not a door in any normal sense. Space itself seemed to fold, creating a safe path inward. Elias guided the ship forward slowly. Every instinct told him to be careful, but the signal was calm, steady, and reassuring. Inside, the space was vast. Light flowed like water, forming platforms and arcs that seemed solid yet alive. There were no visible machines, no wires or panels. Everything felt grown rather than built. Mira whispered in awe, barely aware she was speaking. She felt small, yet welcome. Suddenly shapes began to form within the light. They were not fully solid, more like echoes of beings long gone. These were not ghosts, but records, memories left behind. The shapes showed scenes of ancient worlds, many different species living and growing, then fading away. Elias watched as entire civilizations rose and fell in moments. Mira understood first. This place was not a weapon or a fortress. It was a witness. It had watched the galaxy grow, change, and repeat the same mistakes again and again. Species rose through strength and control, then destroyed themselves through fear and pride. The object had waited for something different. As they moved deeper, the signal explained without words. Humans were not chosen because they were strong or advanced. They were chosen because they could feel deeply. They could hope, forgive, and change. Their weakness was also their strength. Elias struggled with this idea. Humans had always been underestimated, pushed aside by greater powers. Yet here, in this place beyond time, that same weakness had meaning. He felt both proud and afraid. Before they could move further, the ship shook. Warnings flashed across the console. The alien fleet had crossed the boundary. Several ships had forced their way into the region, ignoring the danger. Their presence disturbed the balance of the space around them. The light dimmed slightly, reacting to the intrusion. Mira felt tension ripple through the structure like pain. She realized the place could be harmed if the invaders continued. The signal pulsed urgently, no longer calm. Elias saw the alien ships clearly now. They were larger and more heavily armed than before. Their weapons charged, aimed not just at the humans, but at the structure itself. These beings did not seek understanding. They sought control. Mira felt doubt rise in her chest. If humans awakened whatever power lay here, would they become the same as the others? Would they rule through fear, just like the empires that hunted them now? The signal responded to her doubt by showing another vision. It showed humans standing alone, choosing sacrifice over domination. It showed bridges forming between worlds, not through force, but through shared understanding. The message was clear. The future was not fixed. It depended on choice. Elias made his decision quickly. He powered down the ship's weapons and opened all communication channels. He broadcast a simple message into the space, not aimed at the alien fleet, but at the structure itself. He offered trust. The response was immediate. The light surged, surrounding the human ship in a protective field. The alien weapons fired, but their energy faded before reaching the humans. The structure was not attacking. It was refusing violence. This confused the alien commanders. They expected resistance, fear, or surrender. Instead, they saw humans standing openly, unarmed, protected by something they could not control. Some ships pulled back, uncertain. Others did not. A small group advanced, pushing closer, attempting to breach the inner space. As they did, the structure reacted more strongly. Space warped around the intruders, trapping them without harming them. They were held still, unable to move or fight. Mira felt tears rise in her eyes. This power was gentle, but absolute. It did not destroy. It restrained. It taught. The signal then turned inward, focusing on Elias and Mira. They felt a pressure in their minds, not painful, but heavy. Knowledge flowed into them, not as facts, but as understanding. They learned of countless failed attempts to guide the galaxy. Species that sought power always failed. Only those willing to change themselves could succeed. The structure needed guides, not rulers. It needed humans to act as bridges, not masters. Elias and Mira realized what was being asked of them. If they accepted, their lives would never return to what they were. They would carry this burden forever. Before either could answer, a new presence entered the space. A single massive alien vessel appeared, larger than all the others. Its arrival caused the light to flicker violently. This was not a patrol ship. This was something far more important. The signal recoiled slightly, as if recognizing an old enemy. Mira felt a sharp sense of warning. This being had been here before, long ago. It remembered the structure and feared what it represented. The vessel sent out a powerful broadcast, demanding control of the structure and the humans within it. It claimed authority over the region and declared humans a threat to galactic order. Elias clenched his fists. He felt fear, but also resolve. For the first time, humanity was not reacting. It was standing at the center of events. The structure waited. It did not act. It placed the choice fully in human hands. Mira looked at Elias. She saw the same understanding in his eyes. Whatever they chose now would shape not just their fate, but the fate of the galaxy. Outside, the alien fleets gathered, weapons ready. Inside, the light pulsed softly, patient and ancient. The moment stretched, heavy with possibility. Humanity's future balanced on the quiet decision of two hearts, aligned against the vast weight of the galaxy. Elias and Mira floated in the glowing corridor, hearts pounding, the vast light structure surrounding them. The alien vessel outside loomed like a shadow over the stars, its power unmistakable. Mira clutched the console, eyes wide, feeling the pulse of the signal growing stronger, almost guiding their emotions. Elias knew this was a test, a challenge that went beyond any fleet or weapon. The choice was theirs, and theirs alone. The structure began to shift subtly, its light forming platforms and bridges of energy that seemed solid enough to walk on. Images of ancient civilizations flashed briefly, reminding the humans of those who had risen and failed. Mira realized these civilizations had sought power and control, but humanity had something different. It was not strength or strategy that mattered here. It was trust, empathy, and understanding. The alien vessel outside fired a warning pulse, a beam of energy that slammed into the outer layer of the structure. The light responded instantly, bending the energy harmlessly around Elias's ship. He exhaled, feeling a sense of awe and fear together. This was a power far beyond anything he had ever known, yet it responded to human thought, to human emotion. It was alive. Mira touched the edge of the console, feeling the vibration travel through her fingertips. The signal now showed them visions, not just of the past, but of possible futures. Some futures were dark, filled with destruction and war. Others were bright, showing humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge, forming alliances, and creating harmony. The images were clear, simple, and filled with hope. It was a choice, and it depended on them. Elias stepped closer to the light bridge, feeling the warmth of the energy beneath him. He knew that moving forward meant embracing the unknown. He could see the alien vessel preparing to strike again, this time more aggressively. The fleet outside began to scatter, unsure, hesitant. They did not understand the force that protected these humans, nor the connection Elias and Mira shared with it. The signal pulsed again, faster this time, almost like a heartbeat. Elias and Mira instinctively placed their hands near the energy field, letting it flow through them. They could feel a connection forming not just between themselves, but with the structure, with the signal, and with the galaxy around them. The pulse taught them something profound. Power alone was meaningless. What mattered was how it was used. Suddenly, the alien vessel broke through the protective field, and a large energy wave struck the ship. Elias and Mira were thrown against their consoles. The light around them flickered violently, but it did not break. The structure absorbed the attack, and a wave of energy washed over them. This wave did not harm them. Instead, it connected them more deeply to the pulse of the signal, giving them clarity and courage. Mira realized that the alien forces outside could not control the structure. It responded to emotion, to unity, not weapons. She looked at Elias and nodded. They had to act together, not as soldiers or leaders, but as humans. Their empathy and trust were their tools. If they could control fear and act with intention, the structure would guide them. Elias reached out and pressed a control that he did not understand. It was as if his mind had learned the way to interact with the structure. Energy formed around the ship, creating pathways and openings that led deeper inside. The alien vessel tried to follow, but the energy shifted to block it. The invaders were slowed, trapped outside while the humans advanced. The signal pulsed warmly, acknowledging their decision to proceed with understanding rather than aggression. As they moved deeper, images of the past civilizations appeared again. Mira saw a species that had destroyed themselves by seeking control. Elias saw the rise and fall of empires, all repeating the same mistakes. They realized that the structure was a lesson, a guide, and that humans were being given a chance to act differently. To succeed where others had failed, they could not conquer or dominate. They had to understand. Then, something new appeared, a vision of a human colony, small and fragile, rising amidst the stars. It was a vision of hope, showing humans helping other species, sharing knowledge and building bridges across the galaxy. Mira and Elias could feel the possibilities, and they understood that this was their purpose, to be a bridge, not a conqueror. The alien fleet outside reacted with aggression, but their attacks were now ineffective. The structure, alive and responsive, used their energy to strengthen the humans' position without harming them. Elias realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans, not because they were weak, but because they were unpredictable. Humans could choose differently, and the structure was designed to respond to that choice. Mira stepped closer to Elias, feeling the pulse of the signal flow between them. She could see the paths forming ahead, leading to a central chamber of light. This chamber radiated warmth and knowledge, a place where the past and future seemed to meet. She felt awe and fear together, but also a quiet confidence. They were meant to reach this place, to understand it, and to carry its lesson forward. Elias guided the ship toward the central chamber, weaving through energy bridges and light platforms. The structure seemed to support them, bending and forming pathways as needed. The alien fleet attempted to follow, but every move they made was countered by the living energy around the humans. The invaders could not control it, could not understand it, and would never be able to. Inside the central chamber, the energy pulsed with warmth and clarity. Mira felt it flow into her, filling her mind with understanding. Elias felt the same, as if the structure was teaching them directly. They learned that the galaxy's conflicts arose from fear and desire for control. They understood that humans, with their empathy and courage, could break the cycle. They were being given a responsibility far greater than themselves. Suddenly, a new presence appeared inside the chamber. It was the alien vessel's commander, somehow inside the structure. Mira felt tension spike, but the signal pulsed, steadying her. Elias understood. This intruder was dangerous, but could not survive without harming themselves. The structure did not allow it. It restrained, not destroyed, teaching the lesson of patience and understanding. The commander's eyes widened as it realized that the humans were not fighting, not attacking, but choosing trust. It could not comprehend their decision, nor the power of the structure that responded to thought and emotion. The humans moved calmly through the chamber, exploring its depths and learning from its light. Every step was deliberate, filled with respect and purpose. Mira touched a wall of light, and the pulse expanded, showing visions of potential futures. Some were dark, showing humans taking power aggressively. Others were bright, showing them guiding the galaxy toward peace and understanding. She felt the weight of the choice, but also the strength within them. They were capable of guiding, not ruling, of helping, not destroying. Elias and Mira stood together in the center of the chamber, hearts aligned with the signal, and understood that the galaxy was watching. Their actions, their choices, would shape not just their own fate but the fate of countless worlds. They were no longer alone. The structure, the signal, and the lessons of ancient civilizations surrounded them, supporting and guiding. Outside, the alien fleet paused. It could not penetrate the living energy of the structure. It could not control the humans within. For the first time, the galaxy had met human courage without fear, strength without violence, and empathy without compromise. The invaders hesitated, and some began to retreat, unsure what to do. Inside, the chamber pulsed brighter. Elias and Mira felt a bond forming, not just between themselves, but with humanity itself. They were being prepared, tested, and guided. The structure had chosen them not as rulers, but as catalysts. Their hearts, their decisions, would influence the galaxy in ways they could not yet imagine. Mira looked at Elias, and he nodded. They had come far, faced danger, and yet learned something vital. Humanity's strength was not in weapons or fleets, but in courage, empathy, and understanding. They could face the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as guides. The chamber pulsed one final time, and the light seemed to reach out into the cosmos, touching distant stars, whispering of potential, change, and hope. Elias and Mira felt the full weight and beauty of the moment. They were small yet essential. The galaxy watched, and for the first time, humanity's place was clear. They had stepped into the heart of the unknown, faced fear and power, and emerged aligned with something greater than themselves. The future was uncertain, but the pulse of the signal assured them that they were ready. Whatever came next, they would face it together, guided by the lessons of the past and the promise of the stars. Elias and Mira stood in the center of the glowing chamber, hearts aligned, the pulse of the signal flowing through them. Outside, the alien fleet hovered at the edge of the light corridor, confused and hesitant. They could not comprehend the power of the structure, nor the bond forming between the humans and the signal. The two humans understood that the moment had come to act, to shape the future. The signal began to pulse faster, responding to their unity. It was urging them forward, not through fear, but through courage. Elias felt a warmth in his chest, a sense of purpose that filled every part of him. Mira, beside him, felt the same, the signal guiding their emotions and thoughts like a gentle hand. They knew they were no longer alone, and yet the responsibility was theirs alone. The structure responded to their intent. Pathways of light formed leading outward from the chamber, toward a vast central node of energy. It was a place where all the histories, all the potential, seemed to converge. The signal spoke without words, showing them that what they were about to do could change the galaxy forever. Elias glanced at Mira, seeing determination mirrored in her eyes. They both knew that stepping into the central node meant accepting the full weight of responsibility. They would be channels for the structure's power, able to influence events far beyond their own worlds. Fear rose in their chests, but they held on to trust and courage, letting the signal guide them forward. The alien fleet reacted. Smaller ships advanced, attempting to disrupt the energy flow. Their weapons struck the outer layers of the structure, but the light absorbed the attacks without harm. Some ships were held suspended, trapped by the structure's living energy. Elias realized that the structure did not destroy, it restrained, teaching a lesson through control without violence. Mira placed her hands on the energy field, feeling it pulse through her mind. She saw visions of worlds torn by conflict, civilizations crushed by fear and greed. Then she saw the same worlds healed, not by force, but through understanding and shared purpose. The signal was showing them what humans could do, what they could become if they chose wisely. Elias felt a surge of confidence. He extended his hands, feeling the pulse of the central node. Knowledge flowed into him, not as words but as understanding. He saw the history of countless species, the cycles of rise and fall. And he understood that humans could break the cycle. They could act differently, not through domination, but through guidance and empathy. The alien commanders outside became desperate. They fired volleys of energy, attempting to penetrate the light. But each attack only strengthened the bond between the humans and the structure. Elias and Mira moved with a pulse, weaving through the corridors of light, their actions harmonizing with the living energy. The structure responded, expanding protective barriers and creating paths forward. Mira's mind connected with the signal more deeply. She understood that their emotions, their choices, were amplifying the structure's power. Humans were not chosen because they were strong or advanced. They were chosen because they could feel, because they could act with compassion and courage. The galaxy had underestimated them for so long, and now, in this moment, their true potential was unfolding. Elias and Mira reached the central node. It was immense, a swirling core of light and energy that seemed alive. The pulse of the signal flowed like a river, wrapping around them, connecting them to every part of the structure. They could sense the presence of every civilization that had interacted with it, every life it had witnessed. And now, it was waiting for humans to make their choice. They raised their hands together, letting the energy flow through them. The light responded, creating waves that spread outward, reaching the alien fleet. Weapons powered down, ships held in stasis, as the structure asserted its will. Elias and Mira realized they had the power to influence not by force but by alignment with the structure's purpose. Humanity could guide, not conquer. The pulse of the signal intensified, and visions of the galaxy appeared around them. Mira saw species working together, sharing knowledge, building trust instead of fear. Elias saw humans at the center, not dominating but connecting worlds through courage and empathy. The future was being shaped by the choices they made in this chamber of light. A final surge of energy enveloped them, sending waves across the galaxy. The alien fleet outside hesitated, uncertain how to respond. The structure had made it clear humans would not be stopped, not by weapons or intimidation, but by their willingness to act differently, to guide with understanding. Elias and Mira were channels for this change, and the universe was watching. The pulse slowed, settling into a steady rhythm. Elias felt exhaustion, but also peace. Mira felt the same, a quiet confidence that they had taken the right step. The structure had accepted them, and through them humanity's role in the galaxy had changed forever. Outside, the alien ships began to retreat, some confused, some in awe. The galaxy had seen that humans were no longer small or insignificant. They had the potential to influence events not by domination, but by courage, empathy, and understanding. Elias and Mira knew this was only the beginning, but they also knew that their hearts had aligned with something greater than themselves. In the center of the chamber, the light settled into a gentle glow. Elias and Mira stood together, connected to the pulse of the signal, to the structure, and to each other. They had faced the galaxy, stood against fear and aggression, and emerged as guides, not conquerors. Humanity had found its place, not through strength, but through choice and understanding. The chamber whispered promises of new beginnings, showing paths that led to harmony and growth. Elias and Mira understood that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast and challenges would come, but they had learned that courage, trust, and empathy could shape the future. And with hearts aligned, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead, together. Elias and Mira stood at the heart of the chamber, bathed in the gentle glow of the central node. The pulse of the signal flowed through them, steady and powerful, filling them with a clarity that went beyond thought. The alien fleet had retreated, their presence subdued not by force but by understanding. The galaxy watched, uncertain yet aware that something new had emerged. The structure, alive with energy and memory, pulsed like a heartbeat. It had accepted humans not as rulers, but as guides. Elias and Mira felt the weight of responsibility settle on their shoulders, but it was accompanied by a profound sense of purpose. They were no longer just individuals. They were part of something greater, chosen to lead without dominance, to connect without conquest. Visions appeared around them, not through screens or instruments, but directly within their minds. They saw civilizations torn by fear and conflict, slowly learning from the humans who acted with empathy and courage. They saw bridges formed between worlds, trade and knowledge flowing freely, alliances built not on fear but on trust. The galaxy was changing, guided by two hearts aligned with the pulse of the universe. Elias extended his hand, feeling the energy flow through him. Mira joined him, their palms together, amplifying the signal. Light streamed from their connection, spreading outward in waves that touched distant stars, reaching planets and civilizations far beyond. The pulse was a message, a new way of being, showing that strength was not measured by weapons, but by the choices made with compassion. The alien fleet had paused, unsure how to respond. Their technology could not penetrate the living energy that humans now channeled. Some ships began to retreat entirely, realizing that this force was not for destruction but for guidance. Elias and Mira understood that humanity's influence had begun not through conquest but through example, a demonstration of potential that no one could ignore. Mira felt tears well in her eyes. She could see the possibilities, the hope, and the chance to heal what had long been broken in the galaxy. The signal whispered through her mind, showing her that this was only the beginning. Humans could now act as catalysts, uniting species, guiding decisions, and showing that empathy and courage could overcome fear and aggression. Elias felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been underestimated, considered insignificant by the galaxy's greater powers. Yet here they were, chosen not for their strength, but for their hearts. He realized that the galaxy's future depended not on the might of empires, but on the courage of individuals willing to act with understanding. He squeezed Mira's hand. Their connection deepened, their hearts beating in unison with the pulse of the structure. The central node responded, expanding its light to reach every corner of the chamber. filling it with a warmth that was both comforting and invigorating. It showed the humans that every choice, every act of empathy, could ripple outward, influencing countless lives. The signal had given them a role not of domination, but of transformation. Elias and Mira were the first of a new kind of human, a bridge between worlds, a beacon for the galaxy. Suddenly, images of the alien commander appeared. It had been held back by the structure, unable to act aggressively, yet its presence was a reminder that not all would accept this change easily. Elias and Mira understood that challenges would continue, that fear and resistance would follow them. But the signal showed them how to meet these challenges, not with weapons, but with courage, empathy, and understanding. The structure pulsed again, and Elias felt a deep connection to all of humanity. He could sense the hope, the fear, the dreams, and the potential of his species. Mira felt the same, a quiet determination rising within her. The pulse of the signal had aligned with human hearts, and together they could guide the galaxy toward a future that had never been possible before. Light flowed outward from the chamber, reaching distant stars and planets. Aliens who had once sought to dominate now paused, some retreating, others observing. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of power, a human power, not of weapons or conquest, but of choice and understanding. Elias and Mira knew that their actions had forever changed the balance of the galaxy. They moved through the chamber, exploring the pathways of light that connected to distant points across space. Each step brought new visions of potential, new lessons from civilizations past. They understood that their journey would continue, that they would face challenges and dangers, but they were no longer afraid. The signal and the structure had taught them that courage and empathy could overcome any obstacle. Mira looked at Elias, her voice barely a whisper. "We've been chosen, not to rule, but to guide. We have to keep this promise." Elias nodded, feeling the weight and the beauty of their responsibility. "We will, together." The chamber pulsed one final time, a soft, steady heartbeat that resonated through their minds. The light expanded outward, reaching even the farthest reaches of the galaxy, touching worlds and civilizations that had never known hope. The signal had completed its first lesson. Humanity could act differently, could lead with empathy, and could change the course of the galaxy without violence. Outside, stars aligned in a pattern that seemed deliberate, a sign that the universe itself acknowledged their choice. The alien fleet had withdrawn, their aggression quelled by a force they could not comprehend. Elias and Mira understood that their journey was far from over, but they had taken the first step into a new era. They stood together in the chamber, hands still joined, hearts beating with the pulse of the signal. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and the future was open, full of possibilities. They had faced fear, power, and the unknown, and had emerged as guides, not conquerors. Humanity was no longer small or insignificant. The signal whispered a final message, not in words, but in understanding. The universe rewards those who act with courage, empathy, and trust. Elias and Mira had accepted this role, and through their hearts humanity had found its place among the stars. As they left the chamber, the light slowly dimmed to a gentle glow, leaving behind a promise that wherever humans chose to act with understanding, they would find guidance, connection, and hope. Elias and Mira floated together, knowing that the journey ahead would be long, challenging, and filled with wonder. The stars aligned, and for the first time humanity was ready to answer their call.